Hey there, it's Phoenix Amore. So, clearly and naturally, right, as I write, I obviously every 2 days or so put out a video so that people know, again, how I write, not how I speak. So, that's the beautiful thing now of interacting with more people as I've been taking the voice to the rec center. So, I really wanted to dive into something that was close to home. As a lot of people, when you were kind of reading along about what I was saying about the psychiatrists and the drugs and all this kind of stuff that they were putting my one son on. Beautiful thing is he's not on one of those drugs anymore. And now I know this is what happens a lot of time with people is because I have such a clear discernment and I get pushy when there's certain things like that was a hot topic for me because I said, I'm not sure. When people really think about what I said a long time ago, I also said the grandmother always had him watching princess movies and all this stuff on top of being on that medication, right? And I read the side effects of that medication were that it can cause breast growth. Now that means there's something hormonal going on. I'm not, well, if you're educated enough to understand, that's why I went, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Now that he's not on it, to hear a conversation about how he liked a girl, and I'll leave it there to not embarrass him, you know, but liking a girl, I was like, this is a beautiful thing. So, as a parent that has been very adamant about some of these psych meds, or however you want to say it, really damaging these kids, it's very real. So, it was like a validation and a vindication. It's never tried to be one of those things where I've tried to have verses with my second ex. I understand what a lot of people do. You put your faith completely in the hands of a professional like a psychiatrist because you say this person has gone to school and studied all this stuff. But there is a stronger presence that people don't understand when you start talking about discernment and intuition. That is even stronger than education. That's the difference when you start reading the Bible and it talks about wisdom. Wisdom is not something that you can just learn in a school. So discernment and all those deep spiritual gifts that are granted to people, that's the stuff that we've lost touch with. That's when I talk about ancient ways. That's all the stuff I'm speaking of here. So it freaks people out sometimes when I say certain things because they're like, how did you know? I went to school for all these years and I didn't know that. That's because you went to school to learn it. Wisdom is not learned, it's granted. That's the thing people have to understand. So I do want to address something. If you notice, um, when I started talking about energy and all that kind of stuff, it's very real. And I sat here last night and I purposely said, I want to see when I'm not focusing on that game, right? I'm using certain things as true blue examples. I really had been kind of looking at different auras and all that kind of stuff. It's real, it's not a joke, right? And so last night I kind of refrained from doing that meditative focus, right? And then I see, there it is. Now, let me dive into what I said about the whole interracial thing. And here's something that you need to understand. Most everything I speak about is on a biblical level, but the Bible has a lot of wisdom in it. It is concerned about people's psychological health in the capacity, whether it's talking about somebody who is alcoholic or who has issues with drugs or who has a sex addiction. All these demons that are floating around out there are very real. One of the things that God had a concern with at some point was, hey, if you have a person that is only attracted to a race that's not their own, that's a psychological issue. Now, no, I'm not saying people are crazy. I'm saying think about it at a deeper level. That's one of those things where that's God like, why is it that you're only attracted to the women that are not in your culture or your race? Is that what, more like a fetish? Or is it that you really clicked with that person? I said sometimes because I do know some interracial couples who met randomly and just, clicked. So I'm not speaking on that level. You know what I'm speaking on? This whole trend now, where what has been quote unquote advertised on social media as what a woman should look like ran rampant. So not only did it affect girls, it affected boys. So you have all these people, especially boys, who lost touch with even their type or what they're attracted to because what's been thrown in their face so much is this is what beauty is. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse with social media. That's why I started speaking out saying this is going to be very dangerous for a lot of girls because now they're put under the pressure to look that way because that's what women are supposed to look like. So now you got some real issues with a lot of psychological issues. You got a lot of psychologically unbalanced people, imbalanced people who basically, if they don't feel attractive, they're committing suicide. Naturally, you have this whole thing where now you have, which now you see people checking some of the comedians who don't know when to stop. So remember when I got off of Twitter, I said, these people think everything's a joke. And even when stuff is so serious that it shouldn't be a laughing matter, it was still a joke. So it's understandable that now you have some people going, why are you acting totally oblivious that you may have offended people here? Really on a deeper level. Now, we have also become overly sensitive to some capacity, but some topics really are not okay. And one of the things that I'm speaking on is the whole thing about rape and all that. We've had all these women attack Trump for saying A, B, C, and D, but you have to kind of look at what's been put out there. You have now glorified stripping, you've glorified twerking, you've glorified Instagram naked modeling. You put all that out there and then say, where's the respect for women? That's me as a woman saying, I'm a little confused with how you're sending an opposite message from what you're demanding. Take care.